Guys, welcome to Pro Prep Baseball. I'm Ken Arnold.
I'm Tommy Weber.
Thanks for joining us. It's Sunday night, Tommy. It's St. Patty's Day. I got my Irish stuff on. You look like you're wearing blue. Are you Irish at all, Tommy?
No. Don't insult me. I'm Italian. We don't want to be insulted.
You're just totally with the name Weber? Weber's Italian? What is that?
I'm German. My mother was Italian.
All right, so you're part German then. You're not just all Italian. Yeah, you got some German.
We're not Irish.
We're not Irish. Like I am. I'm Irish. I'm German and Irish. I can't help it. It is what it is. It is what it is. I can't help it. I got the trifecta of alcoholics here. You know, English, Oof. German, and Irish. That's not good.
Oh God.
Oh, it's tough. But you know, I manage. All right. So we're going good here. Danny Terrio. All right, Renee is on. Hey, Renee, thanks for joining us, man.
Hi, Renee.
Yep, and Renee is Cuban. There's no Irish there. Absolutely no Irish there.
Send back Joanne Chesimard.
All right, so Weber, we were talking earlier.
Yes.
We jumped right into it. Base running, man. Talk about that college games at ASU this week.
Almighty.
Yes.
Well, we were watching the ASU. Actually, Arizona State is now 19-0. Pretty good. So, yeah, amazing. Really, a lot of firepower. I mean, it's fun to watch. Got a couple of guys. Hunter Bishop and Gage Workman played for me, so I'm still very close to them, and I love what they're doing. So, what I was really struck by, though, was the amount of times that Washington State ran themselves out of innings by lining into double plays. It had to be 6 times. They could have won 2 of the games that they lost had they not run the bases so terribly. And I just wonder, what are you doing if you're not working on base running? Like, I understand everybody's in the weight room and, you know, whooping it up whenever they can. But if you're going to concentrate on things that don't help you, the things that do help you are going to be glaring when you lose ball games. And they lost those 2 games because they ran the bases so pathetically. I mean, we talked about this before. If the ball's in front of you, how are you getting doubled up on a line drive? They were doubled up on balls that they got doubled up twice on a ball that the second baseman dove towards second base for, caught, and threw the runner out at first base. Yeah, where are you going?
After he had to get back up and then make the throw.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. They had a guy thrown out with second and third on a little looping line drive to the shortstop. The guy at second was so eager to score, I guess, on this ball that he got doubled up by a lot at second base.
Yeah, I saw that. That was in their highlights that they had on Twitter. You know, that's where I saw it. But yeah, we talk about this all the time at the youth level, and you hear it as you come up through baseball. You hear the term freeze on a line drive. Talk about that a little bit, Weber, because that's totally not what you want to tell people.
Terrible idea. As a third base coach, manager, whatever it was I was doing, my instructions to my players was always return, get back on a line drive. So a good base runner, the minute the ball is lined, he'll take a step back towards the base that he was at because he anticipates that ball being caught, and if it gets caught, you want to be able to retreat and not get doubled up. If you freeze, you do 2 things. First of all, your secondary lead is taking you 10 feet further off the base. And now, in an attempt to get back, you've got to start all over again. And chances are, the ball definitely runs faster, it gets thrown faster than you can run. You're going to be out at second base. So it should be back on a line drive. Back on a line drive. But we talked about it earlier. You know, guys play the game too enthusiastically. Baseball's not a game you could play at one speed. It's not like football. The ball's hiked and you go. You know, or basketball, you run the floor, so you try to beat the other team down the floor. Or hockey, you try to beat the other team to the other side of the ice. Baseball's a game, it's all about context. You got to be able to play at different speeds depending upon what the circumstance is in the game. And the modern day player and the modern day coach spends very little time on context. Very little.
Yeah, and part of it is the amount of time you have with the kids and actually able to coach the kids, because you're only getting 2 hours maybe For at the youth level, we're only getting 2 hours, maybe 2-3 times a week. High school's a little different because you're out there every day. You're practicing 2 hours after school, but still, it's not a lot of time, and most people are focusing on offense, hitting, and I don't even know if they focus on defense because I've been to a high school game and I see the defense and pitching are always terrible. But
no, defense, you don't see guys in these cages working on defense. Unless you're a catcher, the only position that anybody ever works on defense that they pay for instruction is the catching position. Everyone else, they think defense kind of just is going to be there, and they don't realize what an integral part of the game and winning defense is. If you don't play good defense, it doesn't matter how good you're going to pitch. You're going to probably lose that game. You got to make all the plays. You got to make every out, and you got to try to drive in every run. And no matter how good your pitching is, if you don't catch the ball, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's a big key. Giving away outs every inning instead of just getting a 1, 2, 3. Now you've given away outs throughout the game. If you give away 3 or 4, 5, 6 outs a game, you're probably going to lose that game, unless the other team is doing the same. But when you're playing a good team and you're not as good as they are talent-wise, you cannot give away those outs. You just can't. Otherwise, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, you know what's funny? For all that we hear in the off-season about what's important and all the philosophies and the drills and the crazy, things that people come up with, we've seen and talked about it all. In the first 20 games of the college season, if you're watching, the games are the same. It's the team that doesn't make the error. It's the team that doesn't walk a lot of batters. It's the team that doesn't make the big base running mistake that prevails all the time. It's just the way the game is comprised. The mathematics of the game win out all the time. They just do.
So that being said, is that talent right there, or is that just lack of preparation? I think it's lack of preparation. Yeah. I think it's lack of preparation.
I think the baseball require the least amount of talent. Know where to play, know when to run, know how to not swing at bad pitches. I'm sorry, you don't have to be Tony Gwynn to learn plate discipline, to learn to hit strikes. You don't have to be Tony Gwynn to focus on making contact so you force the other team to earn 27 outs. That doesn't take a lot of talent. It takes a lot of ability. It takes a lot of ability to run very fast, and it takes a lot of ability to throw the ball very hard. But you can be a very, very good team that doesn't do any of those things if you do all the other things that require far less ability. What they do require, though, is paying attention and really sound judgment. No, I'd like to know the last time you heard a coach or a manager of a youth team talk about judgment.
Never.
It's like never.
Yeah, you don't hear any of that at all.
Right. And isn't that really one of the most important parts of the game? You have to exercise good judgment, when to run, read the pitch, be able to read when a ball's going to be in the dirt, exercise good judgment to advance to the next base. That can be the difference between a win and a loss.
So the other night we were at the high school on Tuesday night. The lights were supposed to come on at 7:30, and they did not. So I had the kids for
if you could play in the dark, you could play in the light.
Exactly. So I had the kids for a half an hour.
Blindfold your hitters next time. Next time I challenge. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So I had a half an hour with the kids, and I'm like, what do I do? So I was like, all right, I'm going to work on base running because you don't need to see the ball. And I can still talk to them. They can hear. They can see enough to know what the hell was going on. So I'm at third base. We're doing third base stuff, and I'm telling them to anticipate the ball in the dirt. And they're looking at me like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, you got, the angles. If the ball is up, you got to anticipate maybe it's going to go past the catcher. If the ball looks like it's going to bounce to the catcher, you got to anticipate that it's going to get past him so you can score without me telling you to do it. So they were kind of confused at first, but they are starting to understand. And I keep reinforcing to them, you have to be able to make your own decisions because by the time I tell you, it's too late. Too late.
Right.
So
I agree. I believe in silent practices where you see kids react, they'll get it, and they'll get it quicker than you think. They really will, because it's not that difficult. We had when I was at St. Francis, and I worked for Frank Del George, we used to have silent workouts all the time, especially on relays. Basically, if a ball's coming to the plate and you're the third baseman, if it's offline or it's dying, you cut the ball off. And you look immediately to one spot, second base. You're not going to throw it to third base, and you're not going to throw it to first base. So you don't need all this communication. You could basically do it on your own. If the ball cut it off, you're going to look to second base. That's the only place you're going to look, because you really don't have a play anywhere else unless the guy's falling down between first and second. But 9 times out of 10, it's like on relays, when the guy goes running out, he's got his hands up.
I lost you there. I think you froze up on me, Tommy. Uh-oh. We're going to have to bring Tommy Weber back. We're going to have to disconnect him and reconnect him. Uh-oh, he's a question mark. There you go. You're back on. Yep.
So my point is that if you're running out into the outfield, there's no reason for you to be signaling to the left fielder where to throw the ball. There isn't a crowd in the outfield.
Right? How many times, you're going out there. I think that you should know there's only a certain amount of options where you're going to throw the ball. How many are there, really, to be honest?
Well,
4 that you could possibly throw to, 3 that most likely you're going to throw to, and then 2 where you're probably going to throw to. To be honest.
And you know where you're not throwing it. You're not throwing it to the center fielder. Right? You're probably not throwing it to the first baseman.
No.
And you're probably going to throw it to the guy who's out there, who's the shortstop, right? Yeah. Who's running out to take the cutoff. So I'm not sure I understand all of this, need for communication, where if you're doing a great thing by basically telling your players that nobody makes the decision quicker or better than they do, because you're right. Yeah. By the time you tell them and it gets to their brain and then to their body, no matter how old or good they are, there's a time lapse, and that could be the difference between safe and out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I tell them that, and they just look at me like, what? I can make my own decisions? Yeah, you can make your own decisions. You can, when you're base running, if you think you can go for a double, and I'm never going to be mad at you if you're being aggressive. I'm never going to yell for being aggressive. I'm just not going to do it. And if I tell you to go, or I say, then it's on me. It's not on you. If I'm telling you to do something out on the field, and you get thrown out, that's on me. Don't worry about that. But you need to be able to see the ball in front of you, make a decision on your own, and go. Instead of me saying, stop, go. But, and especially on a line drive, we'll go back to the line drive. Line drive's hit, you're heading back. Guess what? You're already at an advantage. If you freeze, you're stuck. You're stuck.
You're a dead duck.
Yeah. And sometimes on a line drive, you're a dead duck anyway. You got no shot. So,
Right. If you're on first base, and the first baseman's holding you on, the ball's hit to the bag, you're not going to be able to get back.
You're done.
And also, too, I think we need to realize that regardless the age of the player, the problem is the same. It's very, very hard for players to understand that they're best suited to make it is. No matter whether they're 13 years old, high school, college, high-level college, professional, it's hard for guys to buy into, oh, you mean I don't have to wait for you to tell me what to do? It's not an easy thing to do. But it's human nature to want to be kind of steered. And, more so now than ever. So it's really a problem that exists right up the food chain. And it's good that you're early on acclimating them to this really self-reliant style.
Yeah, and especially with my catchers. I'm like, look, they look at me in the dugout, and I'm like, look, you call it. Go ahead. We talked about it. We've done this already. We've made this decision before. Now you make a decision and see what happens. And
I would make that illegal. That's one rule, and I hate rules, as you know. But that's one rule I would put in. I would put an end to the charts and the wristband and the communication between the dugout and the catcher. I mean, that to me has no value in development whatsoever. You're gonna have to really convince me and it's going to go along. You're going to have to. I don't know that I could be convinced otherwise. I really feel so strongly about the independence of the catcher and the pitcher to run the game and how important that is to their development, that I would make that a rule. If I were in charge, you would not be allowed to call pitches.
Yeah, Renee just put in, he loves letting his catchers call the game. And when a mistake occurs, you talk about it, you move on. Which is, yeah, I agree with that. If a catcher makes a bad decision, and guess what? Mistakes are going to happen even when he makes a good decision.
Aren't you going to make a bad decision on what pitch to call at some point during the game?
Yeah.
Who are we? I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know every. To me, the best pitch is the pitch that gets an out. I don't.
Yeah. Right.
If you get an out, that's fine. I don't care. 0-2 right down the middle. The guy hits a line drive to center field. I'm happy. We got an out. I don't care.
Yeah, but there's also that time where you say, okay, fastball up, and the pitcher makes a mistake, and he leaves it down in the zone, and the guy rips it. What are you going to do? You can't do anything about it.
Well, the guy makes a great pitch, and it's a little flare over the first base bag, for a double. There's nothing you can do. You can only – right. I want my pitcher to throw the pitch he wants to throw. Yeah. I'll live with that.
That he's comfortable
Because I'll tell you what, even if it is, in quotes, the best pitch, and I'm not sure there is such a thing – if he's half-hearted about it, it now becomes maybe not the best pitch because he's throwing it in a half-hearted fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime you go about anything half-hearted, all kinds of
you're less
outcomes.
likely to succeed.
Yes, exactly. You're less likely to succeed in any way. But, all right, so Victor asked, Tommy, do you see sports psychology for young baseball players? Do you see, like kids going in and doing psychology of, I don't see it that much at a younger level. Maybe college level, maybe working with.
I'm not really sure. I mean, look. Aren't we all really kind of dime store psychologists? I mean, as coaches, mentors, parents, whatever it is, you really are a psychologist. I mean, I will say this. I think it's really important, regardless of the age of the kid, to do whatever you can to try to understand and ascertain psychologically and emotionally what's in the best interest of that kid, and coach from that place. Because the reality is, with all due respect, it's just a game, and you can learn everything you need to know about baseball in a very short period of time. It's just X's and O's. But people managing, and especially young people managing, because they're so formative, is critical. So I would say, Victor, yes, in that we're all psychologists, and the first and foremost obligation, I believe, is my players' self-esteem. So I'm not a psychiatrist, obviously, but the reality is you have to be one if you're mentoring, coaching, parenting young people.
Oh, absolutely. I don't treat any one kid on my team the same way because they're all different. You got to figure out ways to motivate each kid. You got to figure out, how you approach them. Some kids you can be tough on. Some kids you got to kind of, back off, because they get too emotional. So yeah, you've got to figure out and you've got to go through that obstacle course with the different personalities you have. So yeah, Victor, yeah, there is some kind of a psychology there, but as a good coach, as a good mentor, as a good parent, you kind of figure that stuff out the more you do it. So, I think Tommy froze up. All right, we're gonna have to bring him back. Bobby Kahn, I see you joined. So hold on a second. I got some stuff. Bobby Kahn stuff. I got Bobby Kahn stuff coming up, by the way. He just joined the conversation, Tommy.
Okay.
So,
I want to add one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as psychology is concerned, and I mean this, I'm a huge mental health advocate. I really believe that that's the next frontier. I've never seen so many wonderful players have such negative self-talk. I've said this before. This is a really serious issue in our society. Got a lot of people out there who think it's okay to not feel okay, and it's not. And I'm really conscious and cognizant of that with my own players. I will say this, earlier than you think, I am an advocate for serious some kind of mental health counseling across the board becoming an acceptable thing for kids, because I just think that and I don't think it's a new thing either. I don't think it's, maybe social media has made it worse or whatever, but we've ignored this issue, since the beginning of time, and the time has come for us to stop doing that and to be really more responsible for how people feel and young people feel. And we tend to think that, kids have it made, or you shouldn't feel bad. The reality is, if you feel bad, you feel bad, whether you should or shouldn't. And I'm a big one for early in high school having mental health services available to all kids, because it's a tough generation. Kids are really anxious and depressed, and they don't have to be. And I would love to be a part of the initiative to make that different.
Yeah, and with the social media, they've done studies that say, kids who spend a certain amount of time on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it is, they're 50% more likely to have mental issues. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's insane. It's insane. You're more likely to be depressed if you spend a certain amount of time on.
Yeah, we should be better. We should be better. And I'm the first one to say I want to be better, and I'm really, really cognizant of it with my guys. Really. Because there's only, look, let's face it. How many ground balls can you take? How many? You can only, after a while, it's, what's your approach mentally? How do you feel? How do you handle failure? How do you handle success? How do you handle losing? How do you handle winning? Those kinds of things. What's going on in your life that I need to know about, which will make me a better mentor or coach for you.
Sure.
We need to be available more and do a better job.
Absolutely. So, Webbs, I was going to tell you, Bobby Kahn joined. So, did you happen to see any of the pictures he posted about his son playing over the past couple days on Facebook? He put a whole thing of his kids up, of his son on Facebook. So if you get a chance, check it out. But he put like 20 photos up. I thought I was looking at Bobby Kahn playing baseball. I mean, it's unbelievable. It looks, they're still photos, but oh my God, it was like you were watching Bobby Kahn.
The same
play.
mannerisms, right?
Everything,
probably the same,
everything. It was fantastic. I mean, it was great. I thought I was watching Bobby play.
It's funny you say that, because I was talking to a friend of mine who's a hitting coordinator in pro ball, and we talk all the time about different philosophies and stuff, and we send each other videos of different his players, my guys, whatever. And I said, the more I do this, the more I think you kind of have a DNA, you have a baseball DNA, and it is passed on. If your father was a lanky left-hander who kind of threw three-quarters, the chances are, oh, surprise, surprise, that's going to be sort of the profile you are. So I'm not surprised, obviously, just based on genetics alone, but when it comes to athletics, that kids sort of take on the same strengths and weaknesses that their parents had.
Yeah, and Bobby just commented, "Poor kid."
Well, he beat me to the punch. I didn't want to say anything.
Come on. Oh man, that's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it was great. But just looking at those pictures, fantastic. Seeing guys that you played with and their kids growing up, enjoying the game, having success at the game. Man, it's fantastic. Yep. I love it. I love it. My older son, he played up through high school. He took a different path once he went to college, but we had fun with it. And then my next son coming up, we're gonna have fun with it. He's gonna play probably through high school. He probably won't play in college. My next son, he's got other aspirations as well. Things that he wants to do, but whatever. But I'm gonna have fun with it while we're doing it. So
who loves me? Somebody loves me?
Yeah. Love you, Webbs. That's Bobby Kahn.
Oh man, I love you too, Bobby. Bobby's a great guy. Oh my God. I got to tell you, and I'm not like an old glory guy. I don't talk about the glory days. But one of the things, if we operated in the NCAA today and did the things we did back then,
nope.
Oh my goodness, our eligibility and our amateur status would have ended very, very quickly.
Would have been done, gone. Forget about it. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, let's not talk about that. The FBI.
I think the statute of limitations has expired, but I'm not sure. So let's err on the side of caution.
Exactly. Speaking of, how about this week? All this bribing your kid to get into schools and stuff like that. What's going on? I mean, it's crazy. It's nothing new, though, Webbs. It's nothing new. None of it.
Well, obviously, it's nothing new. I guess at first I said I can't believe the amounts of money, and then I realized, if you have like $500 million and you want to spend $500,000 to make sure your kid gets into some school, I guess it's not that much money. But to a coach, like the soccer coach at Yale, one guy gave him $450,000. Wow.
Yeah. What? How much? You're always paying
I have to tell you, that would be very tempting to me. That makes it really tempting. See, 20,000, you don't want to lose your job, but $450,000.
That's almost $500,000.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what you're willing to do. Starts to really expand when the money gets to be that crazy. And I do remember you taking my BMW. Oh my God, I love that car.
Yes,
BMW. That was a great car.
Yep.
Oh
that was fantastic. And of course you had to get the seeds as well. You had to get some lower seeds. And where'd you go, Bobby? Down the hill to what the hell's the name of the store?
Miggy's.
Yes, Miggy's Deli. Yep.
Yes.
Miggy's. That's hysterical. Miggy's, take this. Go get us some chew.
Oh my God.
That's one thing I could never do. Never with the chew. As soon I'd throw up all over the place.
You can't. You should do. That's bad. That's bad.
But
with these people, I mean, look. Haven't we talked about this a lot?
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about this a lot without talking about it. This is crazy. Parents are out of their minds. For what? I mean, first of all, if you have all the money in the world, what is the difference where your kid goes to college? I don't, except that you want to be able to say my kid's going to Yale, or my kid's going to here, or my kid's going there, when really, it really doesn't matter at that point. But, it's like any other fashion accessory, right? Yeah. You want to have the right handbag. You want to have the right car. You want to have the right jewelry. You want your kid, who's like a hood ornament to you, to be going to the right school, I guess.
I mean, and Lori Loughlin's daughter, who is, the centerpiece for this and the poster child for this.
Oh, my God.
Right? She was already, she's making a ton of money by doing her YouTube thing.
Right.
She doesn't need to go to school. What the hell?
She shouldn't have been in college.
Yeah, she's taken a spot for some kid that should be there. And what I think they should do, what I think that the faces, Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, that's the other one, right? Yes. What I think they should do is they should publicly come out and make an apology, and then provide a scholarship, a full 4-year scholarship for a student to attend the school that their kid went to. And then maybe we'll kind of let them slide, maybe down the line. But they need to do something like that instead of just avoiding whatever's going on right now. I think.
Look, I don't know. I don't know that it's, well, I know it's not criminal for me to give you money because you're going to get my kid into a school. That's not the crime. If I gave Ken Arnold $50,000 because he told me he can get my kid into a school, that's not a criminal act in and of itself. It starts to become criminal when you pay the proctor of the SAT exam to retake your daughter's exam so she gets 400 or 500 points higher. It starts to become criminal when you're providing pictures so that the Yale coach could doctor the pictures so as to get you into a school you otherwise. Now you're talking about like federal forms and a conspiracy that could get you into some trouble. So I agree. I think that's a great solution. I just don't know what the federal government would say about that. Those guys don't fool around.
Yeah. Well, if they do that, if they give money to the school program and say, here, I don't care who you give it to, give it to whoever you want, whoever you deem, worthy of getting a scholarship. But I think that they should do that at some point. So here's a question coming from Victor Coco. What is your thoughts on the majority of players from one nation, like the Dominican Republic, playing on one team? I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if you got 10 players from the Dominican Republic who are all good players and they're on your team, let's have at it. Let's play baseball.
Welcome to the 21st century. You're going to see it more and more and more. As the American, well, first of all, as we've talked about this before, the black player is gone. You've basically financed him out of the game, and he's gone to some marvelous athletes that we've lost to football and basketball because you can't play if you can't pay. Yeah. That's the nature of youth baseball now. If you want to play on a high level, it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So the kid from the Dominican Republic, when you really think about it, if that population, that small population, can generate those kinds of players, maybe we need to take a lesson from the Dominican Republic and start formulating ways that kids could mimic what they're doing in the DR, which is playing a lot of unsupervised, unregulated baseball for hours and hours and hours on end. Those kids are not getting, some hack to go into a garage with AstroTurf and teach them how to get their foot down late at night. They're not doing that. They're playing, and they're playing all day long. And that's why there's such a high percentage of them playing in the major leagues.
Oh, absolutely. And then, you look back, when you're in the 80s and you're going into the 90s, even in the 70s, the Eastern Europeans, they would take kids and they would put them in these programs where that's all they did all day long, whatever sport that it was. There was a tennis player at Wagner when we were there, female tennis player, and she came from Romania. And I had a conversation with her one time, and she's like, yeah, ever since I was like 6 years old, that's all I did all day long was play tennis. That's all I did. I spent like an hour or two
if you remember, the Eastern Bloc countries were doing that, in the Olympics forever.
Yeah.
They had these de facto academies. They weren't pretty, and they basically were like military installations, like the Russian hockey team and the East German swimmers and the gymnasts. And they were also doing like steroids, but nonetheless, they were playing all the time. All the time.
That's all they did all day long was training for that specific sport. And, school was an afterthought. And that's what's happening in the Dominican Republic is that these kids are trying to fight their way out of the Dominican Republic because they know of other people who came to the United States, played baseball, and are now back there, like Sammy Sosa and guys like that. And they're just, amazed by what those guys were able to achieve. So I totally, I think we lost Weber. Let me bring him back. There you go. You're back. I lost you for a second.
We got to fix this.
Well, we got to take up a collection, and I think we got to upgrade your Wi-Fi up there.
Yeah.
I had the guy come out to my house yesterday. I was about ready to kill him. I was like, dude, you got to figure this out. So today I did my speed test. I got the highest speeds, both download, upload, everything.
I'm doing that this week.
Yeah, I was just like, I need the fastest. And he was like, because last week we were having some difficulties. But I think I got mine figured out. But seriously, in the Dominican Republic, that's all they're doing all day long. They're fighting their way out of there. Guys like Sammy Sosa come back to the Dominican. They see what they got. And those guys flaunt it. Like Sammy Sosa, he flaunted it when he was here. You go back to the Dominican Republic, and those kids see you walking around with your big gold chains and your fancy cars and everything. Those kids are like, that's what I want. And they're going to work their butts off to get that.
Yeah, we're in like a phase where we're trying to convince ourselves that that you don't have to play a lot, and you don't have to suffer, and you don't have to work, and you don't have to toil at it all day long, and you can still get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and that's what all this instruction, hyper instruction, travel ball, and showcasing is really all about. But we're kidding ourselves because there's only really one way to do it, and it's the way they're doing it in the Dominican Republic.
All right, moving on to our next subject. I had practice yesterday afternoon, and a lot of my kids like to sit back on the ball when it's coming to them, a ground ball. What can I do? What can I do, Weber, to teach them to field through the ball towards their target, towards first base? What kind of things can I do?
Okay, here's what I do. I do a few things. First, I do a little bit of I do a desperation drill where I stand about 30 feet from the guy with a fungo bat. I choke up on the fungo. I do most of my work from 30 to 50 feet away. I'm never at home plate hitting because it takes too much time. It's not efficient.
Yeah.
When you're doing drill work, I have my players close their eyes, and they react to the sound of the bat. So they have to kind of instinctively move because their eyes are closed. They hear the bat, and now they have to respond to the ball and go get it. So it kind of takes away contemplation. They're less likely to sit there because they know they've got to move to the ball. The other thing I do is I have them turn their backs, and I hit it, and they have to turn and go get the ball. That's another one. But if you want to work on them moving, if you want to really get moving into them, I have them stand about 5 feet back and start walking towards me, and they don't know when I'm going to hit the ball. And I hit the ball. So I'm hitting them the ball as they're walking. So they're appreciating movement and how movement begets more movement. So movement forward will make you move left or right more efficiently. Those are 3 drills I would work on if a kid is sitting back on the ball.
All right, great, because some of my kids get it. Some of them are pretty good at it. They come forward, they attack the baseball. But most of the kids that I have just want to sit back and wait for the ball to come to them.
Right. Those are 3 ways that they can't sit back on the ball, because they're first of all, the one where they're walking towards you, they're already moving, so they have no choice. Yep. Another, what we do with our outfielders is really cool too, because they happen to do. Outfielders think you catch it, stand straight up, jump in the air, and throw the ball with a crow hop. And in order to get our guys running through the ball, and we want our outfielders, think about it, running as fast as they can. Ichiro gains more ground on the ball than any outfielder I've ever seen. He is flying as he catches that ball, and then he just keeps going. And because his body's going so fast, it's really easier for him to make a really hard and efficient throw. So what we do with our outfielders is the same thing, stand about 30, 40 feet from them, roll them the ball, and have them sprint, not throw the ball, but just catch the ball and get it into their throwing hand, but running as fast as they can, so that they can appreciate how fast you can run. Outfielders, amateur outfielders, tend to slow up at the ball, pick it up, and then pick up speed again. We want you running through that ball as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, and you mentioned also in that drill that they want to do a hop before they throw. They want to jump.
You don't want to go up.
No, I call it that's a crow hop. That's what we were taught when we were young. Right. No, I don't want to do it. You want to do what's called a pro step. But if you watch Ichiro, he does it perfectly. He does that side. He turns quickly and does a quick shuffle, and the ball is gone. And he never comes off the ground.
Right.
Even like that. And that's what you want to teach, because it's a lot quicker. Because you can't throw the ball until what? You land, right? So you jump up in the air. You're just wasting time.
And think about it. Once you go up, you're no longer going forward.
No, you're going...
Unless you're Superman. Only Superman goes up and goes forward. Once you go up, you've stopped, and you don't want to stop. So it's interesting how you were taught crow hop, which in fact, from a physics standpoint, is not a good thing, because you get all your power from the ground. You don't get your power by being up in the air.
Up in the air. So, yeah. You just got to teach them to be quick and close to the ground. Like,
I think those drills actually might be on my website. They might be on the website.
Okay. I'll check it out.
And I'll tell you, guys, I like drills that aren't particularly technical. I like drills that make you feel something, and then you bring that to the game, and you don't have to worry about like where your glove needs to be, or, I have a drill. I don't have a drill, but I talk to guys about being ready to field, and I say, if the cat got loose, or how many of you have a dog? Well, if the dog got loose, what would you do? And all of a sudden, they go into this position where their elbows are close to their body, their hands are like this, not like this. Right? This is ready position is like this, with your elbows close to your body, your butt kind of up, and your knees down, and your chest forward. I said, well, if that's how you would catch the dog, then why isn't that the way you're setting up to catch the ball? And if you watch all the Major League infielders, lots of photos that I send my guys, they all, when they land in their prep step, that's how they are. They can clap their hands, they can pull a rope. So I want you to feel that, and that's a great image. The dog is loose. What do? All of a sudden, you're ready to go. A defender in basketball, what does he do? He gets into that position. It's all the same position. So that's that. I think kids respond to that and actually own that stuff more readily than you got to put your left foot down here, your right foot down there, and then put your hand here. That never worked for me, so I never used that with my players.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it confuses them at best, if you ask me. It confuses them. Okay, some throwing drills. What can the kids do to strengthen their arms? Because I got a lot of kids, and a part of it is that they don't use their lower half enough. They're stopping themselves. They don't use their momentum. They don't generate any power with their legs. So what kind of throwing drills would you teach kids, at the 12-year-old level to help
At the 12-year-old level, even with our guys, I like starting off. I like guys throwing the ball on their knees for one reason. Most guys don't use their lower body, but they also don't understand how the lower body and the upper body work together to throw. Most guys don't turn enough when they throw the ball. They don't turn their shoulders enough, right? A lot of guys throw the ball sort of facing the target this way, like, right, as if you're throwing a dart, right? You don't. It's not like you're throwing a dart. It's more like you're shooting a bow and arrow, right?
Yeah.
You want to take the ball, right? I know it's difficult to be under the constraints of this. Right, exactly. It depends on how poorly a kid throws. If a kid just wants to get a stronger arm, he's got to throw a lot, because the one thing throwing involves is strength. You got to be strong to throw the ball. Throwing the ball is a strength act. It really is. And you got to throw. I would put a guy on his knees. And the other thing that I would probably do is I would turn players. I would have guys feet facing, turn when you're on your feet and throw. And I would throw a lot of, I'd have a protocol where I had guys throwing for distance.
Yep.
But I would probably be a guy that would really want guys to almost overthrow.
Yeah, no,
I don't know that you could throw enough.
Yeah, I go to my kids, look, we're going to throw, and, I want you guys to throw a lot. We're going to throw across the infield. We're going to throw, I want you guys to stretch it out. I want you to play long toss. I want you to do those things. And then every time we get to practice, they're standing 30 feet apart, and they're playing catch.
Oh. Doesn't that make you nuts?
And they just continue to do it. And I'm sitting there going, nobody's going to back up. You're not going to back up. You're not going to stretch this out. What's going on here?
Oh, my God. When the first throw is like 20 feet away, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't recall, we might have to make those kinds of throws in a game. But, I want you to be able to throw it across the infield, if you need to, or reach home plate.
I'll tell you another drill I would do is, and you've played the game I have, is I would obsess on target throwing, because good solid target throwing requires good mechanics. So if I'm aiming for your left shoulder and I'm able to hit your left shoulder 5 times in a row, and then I aim for your right hip and I can hit your right hip, and then I aim for your face and I can hit, if I can do that, my throwing mechanics have got to be pretty good. And now I could start to air it out, because my accuracy is good. If you've got really good accuracy, you probably have pretty good throwing mechanics. So you can make up games. Yeah, look, my feeling is you should never throw a ball without a purpose. I hate this aimless kind of throwing the ball. You never throw a ball without a purpose in a game. When you're having a catch, there should always be some purpose behind every throw.
No, I totally agree. I try to get my kids to play 21.
Right.
Right. 2 points for, if you're in the head.
Right, absolutely.
1 point if it's, on the body. If it's outside, you don't get any,
I'll tell you another thing that I would do, Ken. I'm a big advocate for throwing the ball from underneath, throwing the ball from 3/4, throwing the ball from here, catching it and throwing it, catching it and throwing it, catching it and throwing it, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm really because you very rarely throw the ball overhand, and everybody works on throwing it. Oh, well, what about the ball that gets hit here and you got to throw it from underneath?
Exactly.
I think that helps you.
Exactly. No, I talk to the kids every day. Throw it from different angles, different arm angles. Work yourself right around, from 12 o'clock all the way around to 6. Find different arm angles and just throw the ball. Get used to doing that, because obviously on a slow roller, you're not coming to throw it up here. Just not doing it.
I'll give you a great drill for 12-year-olds, right? So if I'm facing you, we're throwing, right? I'm going to throw you the ball moving forward. So I'm going to take a step and throw it as if I'm charging the ball, picking it up and throwing it forward.
Okay.
You're going to receive the ball moving backwards and throwing it backwards. And that's how the game's going to work. So I'm going to throw it back to you. You're going to move forward, throw it in. You're going to throw it to me. I'm going to throw it backing up. So now we're doing 2 things that are going to happen in a game. You may have to throw the ball backing up. You may have to throw the ball on the way in.
Yep.
Can you picture that?
Yep. No, I can. Yeah. See.
And you know what? It's not easy.
It's moving like this.
Right. Exactly right. That's exactly what's happening.
Boom,
right.
Boom.
And all of a
boom,
sudden you see guys, now it's a rhythm drill. You've got to be in the right, you have to have the right sense of rhythm and timing and correct tempo. And you'll see, it takes guys a while because it's sort of foreign to them to have ever done this. Normally just stand straight, in line and throw the ball. But this is a really nice, it's me throwing to you, coming on the at the ball, you backing up and throwing it as you back up.
Yeah, I see these kids. I mean, they're so concerned about their throwing mechanics and how they throw. Like they're trying to perfect it every time, and I'm like, that's not how you do it. It's not. I mean, there are things that you can do but you can't try to do that. You've got to be able to throw from different angles and everything like that. And
Throwing's fun. Throwing is a lot of. I love to throw. I love having a catch.
I try to teach them to just like throw from, running in, throw this way,
Absolutely.
falling down. Just have fun with it, And they're just all, I got to do this. I got to step. I got to throw it. My gloves got to be boom, boom. And there are some kids on my team that need that kind of work because they are that bad. But,
right.
Most of the other kids, you don't need that. I have a kid who throws like this, Webbs, and I don't know how to fix him. He takes the ball from here and he pushes it like that, like he shot puts it like this, and it's the craziest thing I've ever saw. And, and the ball goes, it almost comes out like a knuckleball. It's insane, and I can't get him to get back and wet noodles,
right.
Like give me that arm action, that snap, and that wrist out in front, and let it follow through. He takes it right from here and he pushes it like this, and I don't know how to,
Maybe you want to get him. Maybe you want to get him more like a pitcher at first, and get him to go down
and around.
Have his thumb be down at the bottom, and really exaggerate. Whoa, and then eventually he'll get out of going here, and maybe you can get him to here.
Yeah, Renee says take him to a hatchet throwing facility.
Okay.
Yeah, or because you're gonna be up here. You're gonna be
or that.
Or that. Take him to a hatchet throwing facility. But it's crazy. He shot puts the ball, and I want to try and get him to the point because he can't get anything on the throw. You know what I mean? There's nothing there.
Obviously,
he's only got so much strength. Yeah, he's only got so much strength to push it from here like this.
His shot
put. Yeah, he shot puts it. Nah, I'm trying to get him out of it. It's tough, man. It's tough. I'm trying everything I know. So every drill, everything. I'll have him on his knee, and then I'll put a tee like right underneath of his elbow. So if he comes down like that, he's going to hit it. He's going to hit the tee, the top of the tee. If he comes up here, he'll miss the tee to throw through. I've tried that. I'm trying whatever I can. But yeah, he shot puts the ball. It's an odd throwing motion.
I think the answer to all throwing woes is more. You'll find it. You got to throw a lot.
Yeah. And I think experimenting with the throws too. In drills and stuff like that. Experimenting, coming in. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to work on slow rollers. I want everybody to come in, catch the ball, and throw the ball while you're running into motion and, throw it from the side. That kind of thing. If you give them permission to do that, I think they'll get a little more creative.
I agree.
With what they're doing. So, what have we been doing? We've been on for 50 minutes now. That's pretty long.
Wow.
I know, 50 minutes. So, next week, Weber, I am probably going to have Craig Wilson on.
Cardinals infielder.
Yes, played for the Cardinals in '89 through '93. I think it was with Kansas City in '93. But he played with Ozzie Smith, Terry Pendleton, Pedro Guerrero. Obviously played for Whitey Herzog. He lives in Annapolis. I just saw him yesterday over at the field and invited him to come on. So we're going to try to work that out for next week, next Sunday night.
Sure, great.
Be kind of nice to find out, from somebody who played for Whitey Herzog, what was it like to play, for Whitey Herzog? What was it like to play with the Wizard, Ozzie Smith? He was a middle infielder, Craig. So, he knows.
Yep.
He knows the deal, what it was like.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So
I look forward to that.
Hopefully we'll have him on next Sunday night. But in the meantime, we'll have 3 practices, and I'm hoping I can get my team squared away. I got some kids, Webb. I got some kids, man. I'm telling you, I got one kid that looks like Mike Trout. He's out of control. He crushes the ball.
That's the kid I saw.
Yeah, no, that's the other kid. I was getting to him. That's the other kid, but I got 2. I got one kid that swings the bat like Trout and just crushes the ball, and then I got that other kid that you saw that I'm just like, this kid. He looks like Aaron Judge, but just a little bit smaller.
Nice swing, that kid.
Yeah, I mean he's a little bit small. He's still raw, and he doesn't have an attitude problem, but he has this maybe focus problem. I think it's a focus problem with him.
Paying attention.
Yeah, and then that's what we get back to with the psychology of the game. You know, I think he has like a focus problem. It's tough for him to focus on what's going on around him. So
well,
I don't know.
I'll leave you with this. I think that's a big problem in that. I said this to somebody recently. I played more than I watched because there wasn't a lot to watch. You didn't have a lot of choices. The modern player plays way less, and he watches even less. And what he does watch is only snippets of the game. So he doesn't understand the value of paying attention from the first inning to the ninth inning, because what happens in the first inning might affect what happens in the ninth inning. They don't understand the game as a continuum because it's experienced very little as a continuum. Showcasing, taking some of your skills and just going out there and fielding 6 ground balls, running a 60-yard dash, and hitting 5 balls and seeing how hard you can hit them. That is not playing baseball. That isn't. So they experience very little of the game in such a way so as to encourage you to pay attention and focus. Because if you only have to have 6 balls, you're only going to hit 5, you're only going to throw 6 pitches, you really don't have to focus that much.
Yeah, no, it's a very limited time span.
Right.
It's 6 pitches.
You could just be out of control, for 2 minutes that you're going to be doing it. Whereas baseball's a game where it's slow and you have to pay attention, because at any moment something can come up in a game, like the line drive to second base, where if you're not paying, you get doubled off, and it costs your team a game.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, Webbs, we're going to wrap this up, man. It was great having you on. Thanks for joining me. Thanks to everybody who came on. Renee, Victor Coco, Bobby Kahn, Danny Ford, if you were listening in. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. We'll have Craig Wilson on the show from the St. Louis Cardinals. And Webbs, have a great week, man.
You too, man. Love you. I'll be upgrading.
All right. See you, man. Get that upgrade.
I got you.